Names were changed because this was a pretty high-profile case where I was from. I'll be referring to myself as my handle. Something freaky happened, and it's pretty late at night, and I just really need to talk to someone. The elementary school I went to was situated between a suburb and a forest. It was cool for me as a kid, because I lived in a different suburb on the other side of the forest, meaning when I didn't feel like waiting for the bus, or missed it, I could just take a shortcut through the forest, and be there in about 15 minutes. Of course, my teachers would be mad, because my boots and pants would be splashed with mud. But cutting through the forest meant you were cool. It meant your parents trusted you to do things on your own. It meant you weren't afraid of the old man who lived in the box. It was an old urban legend at my school. Way off in the forest, you could see a cardboard box partially covered up by the brush. Everyone said there was an arm creeping out of it, gnarled and bony, but it was probably just a branch. I only saw it once when one of the boys in my class hauled me up onto the monkey bars, where you could see it. One of the downsides of being so little, even in the 3rd grade, Austin pointed it out to me and said, "That's where the old man lives." "What old man?" I asked. He rolled his eyes. "The one who lives in the box, duh." It was said that once a year, usually in the spring, the old man would snatch a 3rd grader from the playground. It would happen in a flash, and the teachers would never care, no matter how much you cried or screamed. And so, a gaggle of 3rd grade boys would sit up on the monkey bars I could never reach on my own, and watch the box every recess. I always thought they were stupid. It was just a rumor, like Bloody Mary or Baby Blue or Charlie Charlie. I'd done all of those, and nothing happened, so there was no reason to believe that the old man who lived in the box was anything more than a silly urban legend. I was playing with my friend Jenny that day. It was cold out, and I'd worn a baby blue velvet hoodie over my sweater. Jenny was always cold, so I lent it to her. I would probably get too hot in it anyway. We were close like that. Our teacher, Mr. B, liked to call us 2 halves of a whole idiot. It might have had something to do with us trying to publish an unsavory article in the school's paper about the swear words kids wrote in crayon in the girls' bathroom. We had one of those jungle gym domes at my school. It wasn't as popular as the swing set, or basketball hoops, or the playground, so Jenny and I had it all to ourselves. One of our favorite games was for me to hang upside down from my knees from the top of the dome, grab Jenny by the hands, and swing her around. Her laugh sounded like chimes. Hollering, I tried to swing her higher and higher. The sound was seared into my memory, like the afterimage of the sun when you've been staring at it for too long. The lunch monitors blew their whistle, telling us it was time to come in. I dropped Jenny and grabbed the bar underneath my knees to flip to the ground. I swear, my eyes were only off of her for a second. Not even that. But when I landed, Jenny was gone. I was confused at first. Jenny was a fast runner, so she might have darted away before I could see her. I tugged on the sleeve of Austin when he walked by. "Hey, have you seen Jenny?" I asked. She must have run to class, but she has my hoodie on, and my mom will be angry if I come home without it. None of them would look me in the eyes. None of them would tell me what happened. None of them would say anything as I shouted and chased after them. They didn't have to. I froze in place, unwilling to move as the realization dawned over me. People don't just vanish into thin air like that. and my hoodie was so bright I would be able to see her a mile away in this dreary weather. "Maggie, come on." I ignored the lunch monitor. I had to force each grueling step in the other direction. It shouldn't have made me feel like someone had dumped slush down my back, but that's what each step towards the forest was like. I was cool. I was brave. I probably should have gone to class to see if Jenny had gone ahead of me, but when you're little, you can convince yourself of anything, and I'd convinced myself that going to the box would prove to me that this was all just a joke. I usually entered the forest from the back of the school, not the side. There was no pathway cleared out, and it was full of brambles and thorny vines. Not like I cared. I was tunneled in on that box, and everything, even the cold and stinging of the plants, and my teacher yelling, were lost on me. I almost tripped over some vines, almost like something was grabbing my ankle as I neared the box. I didn't even know what to expect when I looked inside. Jenny ready to pop out and make fun of me. Or nothing. I kept my eyes closed, trying to psych myself up to look. All the while I could hear my teacher, Mr. B, as he struggled through the foliage. Jenny was in the box, and for a brief moment, relief washed over me. But it was just that brief, a split second while my brain processed the deep purple, almost black bruises around her throat and all over her naked body, and her eyes so wide and terrified, it looked like they were almost popping out of her head. I couldn't stop staring, and didn't until Mr. B came and swooped me up. "Don't look, Maggie. Close your eyes. Close your eyes." Everything after that was kind of a blur. Everyone was sent home, of course. The bus drivers and parents even had to come directly to the classroom to pick up their kids. I was in the principal's office the entire time, being questioned by police. My mom worked in the office, so when the staff was given the A-OK to leave, she took me home. My life in the school was like a circus show the next month or so. Everyone wanted to know what exactly happened to Jenny, why I hadn't seen her leave, why she went into the forest, and of course, who did this to her. I swore up and down that I only looked away for a second, but the more I said it, the less and less grown-ups believe me. At the end of the day, they chalked it up as a victim of a copycat of a child killer who was active in our area a few decades ago. They started up a manhunt, but it fizzled out after a year, when there was no new evidence or new victims. It's weird to say, but it wasn't too hard to move on from Jenny's death. You'd think it'd be traumatic, and maybe it was, but I'm functioning just fine now as an adult, some dozen or so years later. I'm only writing this up and posting now because I was up visiting my dad when something happened. I'm a bit of a night owl, so I was up late scrolling through movies on demand. I must have nodded off at some point because I woke up to the glass front door banging against the frame. My cat was always an escape artist. Thankfully, he was never too hard to find. He always headed off into the woods near our house. I grabbed a flashlight and a bag of treats and headed out. It took me a half an hour of looking around before I finally found the old bastard. I shoved the treats into my pocket and flung my cat over my shoulder, debating how I was going to punish him when I got home. Revoking his treats and making him sleep in the living room seemed fair enough. But I saw it, just briefly, out of the corner of my eye, a box, there was an inkling of familiarity, mostly just gross curiosity at what had been dumped in the forest this time. I peered inside. The box was almost empty. In the corner, glowing almost neon, was something blue and neatly folded. My blood ran cold when everything clicked. I nearly fell over. It was that baby blue velvet hoodie. I'm not an athletic person, especially not when carrying a cat who weighs more than he probably should. But I sprinted the entire way home. I locked myself away in my room, and I'm currently hiding under my covers as I record this on my phone. I'm just really hoping that tapping sound on my window is just a tree branch.